Hello everyone, myself Pancham Singh, Assistant Professor in IT Department, AKGC Ghaziabad. I am going to deliver next lecture on the operating system, and the topic is the inter-process communication. So in this topic I will discuss about the how two processes can communicate to each other by message passing and by shared memory. So in this topic I will discuss about the two important topic here, and an area of memory shared among the processes that wish to communicate. So the common area which are going to shared here, and two processes want to communicate, they can communicate to each other. The communication is under the control of the user's processes, not the operating system. So communication will be controlled by the user processes. So both user want to communicate to each other, and they are using the common area that you can show that like message passing and shared memory. So the area which are used by the two processes are common. Major issues is to provide mechanism that will allow the user processes to synchronize their actions when they access shared memory. So this is the big challenge for the two processes. If two processes are going to communicate to each other, so synchronization problem will be occur. So how you will avoid the synchronization problem when two processes are communicate to each other? So this is the challenges in the inter-process communication. Whenever two or more processes they are want to use the common area that are shared. So inter-process communication in the first term, that is message passing, how messages are passing by the two processes. If one process want to communicate to another process, so they can communicate only on the basis of the message passing. So the mechanism for process to communicate and to synchronize their actions. So if two processes want to communicate to each other, then definitely they will synchronize their actions whenever they want to communicate. In second point, message systems processes communicate with each other without resorting their shared variables. So processes communicate with each other without resorting to shared variables. So they are not sharing their variables. They are only communicate to each other by message passing. So what about the IPC? IPC stand for inter-process communication. So IPC provide the facilities to operations. There are two important operations in IPC. One is the send message and second is the receive message. So if process want to communicate to another process, so first it will send the message to the another process, and the message received by the another process. Then after process 1 and process 2 get the signal to communicate to each other. The next point, the message size is either fixed or variable. So it depends upon the size of the message, what message a process want to communicate to another process. So size of the message maybe it will be fixed or variable. So message passing technique continue. If processes P and Q wish to communicate, they need to establish a communication link between them. So if process P and Q want to communicate to each other, so first they will establish the communication link between them. In second point, exchange message by send and receive. So both can communicate to each other by send and receive message. Now in the second point, that is implementation issues. What implementation issues will be occur when process P and process Q want to communicate? So first issue will be how are link established. So first how you will establish the link. This is the first issue will be occur. Now in second point, can a link be associated with more than two processes? So the communication link between two processes you can establish or more processes you can establish. So it will create the problem whenever we are going to establish the link between the one-to-one or one-to-many processes. In third point, how many links can be there between every pair of communicating process. So if two processes want to communicate to each other, so is there is only one link or there is more than one link between the two processes they can communicate to each other. So this can be this type of challenge may be occur in the system when two processes are going to communicate to each other. Next challenge is what is the capacity of link. So how many links you can create between two processes or more than two processes when they are want to share the resources, share the variables, or want to communicate to each other. So this type of implementation issue may be occur when you are going to communicate to the process P and process Q. is the size of the message that the link can accommodate fixed or variable. So it depends upon the size of the message. So size of the message may be fixed or variable. So if process P and Q want to communicate to each other, so the size of the message maybe it will create the problem when the process is going to send the message and receive the message with the help of the link. So it will also implement the issue in the communication. Now last one is a link unidirectional or bidirectional. So if you are going to communicate, process P want to communicate to another process Q, so the link which are going to establish between the two process can be unidirectional or bidirectional. So it depend upon the links, which type of link you are using. Like walkie-talkie is a unidirectional, so and telephone landline is also so the bidirectional communication. So link is very important, and whenever you're going to communicate, one process want to communicate to another process. So these are the issues, or these are the challenges will occur when two processes are going to communicate to each other in message passing. So message passing implementation of communication links. So definitely if you're going to communicate to another process, so first you will establish the connection. So which type of connection you will establish? So there are two important points here. One is the physical and second is the logical. So physical connection is very important compared to the logical connection. So first you will establish the physical connection like shared memory, hardware bus, networks. So these are the required physical values in the communication. Now we are going to explain about the logical. So in logical connection, so direct or indirect communication, so which type of connection you are going to establish in the direct manner or in the indirect manner. And second is synchronous or asynchronous communication in the logical. This is the very important. And automatic or explicit buffering. So these three are very important in logical. Logically we are going to communicate to each other whenever a process P and want to communicate to process Q. So implementation link will be two types. One is the physical and second is the logical, and both are very important in message passing. Now I am going to discuss about the direct communication, how direct communication will establish between P and Q. So in direct communication, processes must name each other explicitly. So if you are going to communicate to another process, so both processes must have their different name or unique name whenever we are going to send message and receive message. So in send message, P send message, send a message to process P. What about the Q? Receive Q message, receive a message from process Q. So process P and process Q, both processes are unique or different, and if one process is sending message and second process is receiving message, so they can establish the connection between them, and then after you can communicate. So simply you can say in direct communication, one person want to communicate to another person by send message and receive message, and both can communicate to each other in direct communication. What are the properties for direct communication? Some important properties for direct communication are given here. So links are established automatically. So in direct communication, whenever two processes want to communicate to each other, so they can communicate each other directly. Now in second point, a link is associated with exactly one pair of communicating process. So there is only one link between the process P and process Q. If process P want to communicate to process Q, so there is only one link. Now next point is between each pair there exists exactly one link. So in direct communication is the very simple, where two processes communicate to each other in direct manner, and there is only one link between two processes. The link may be unidirectional but is usually bidirectional. So you will use the two types of link like unidirectional and bidirectional in direct communication. So direct communication is a simple where you can establish the connection between two processes by using single connection line. What about the indirect communication? So indirect communication is another very important topic in IPC. So messages are directed and received from mailbox. So if you are going to receive the message from the mailbox, so there is another way through which we can receive the message. So if process P is sending message and process Q want to receive the message, So process P and process Q directly they cannot communicate to each other. They can communicate by the mailbox. So messages are directed and received from the mailbox. Mailbox. Each mailbox has a unique ID. So the mailbox number or mailbox ID is unique. So first process P and process Q will get the unique ID, that is mailbox ID. Then after process P send message to the mailbox, and after that process Q will receive the message from the mailbox. So both processes like process P and process Q will receive the unique ID number from the mailbox. So processes can communicate only if they share a mailbox. So definitely I have explained that key processes can communicate only with the help of the mailbox. So some important properties for indirect communication are given here. So link established only if processes share a common mailbox. So there is only one link. There is only link will be established if process P and process Q want to communicate. So they can communicate on the basis of the mailbox. In second point, a link may be associated with many processes. So in indirect communication, you can associate many processes. Many processes can use that same mailbox at the same time. So there is the advantage in the indirect communication. Now next point is each pair of processes may share several communication links. Each pair of processes may share several communication links. So there is the advantage in the indirect communication where more than processes can share the several communication links. And last one is the link may be unidirectional or bidirectional. So in direct communication, the link established between the processes can be unidirectional or bidirectional. So this feature is common for direct communication and indirect communication, and some important features are different than direct communication and indirect communication. So that is the difference between the indirect and direct communication. So indirect communication, which type of operation we are going to find out here. So first operation is the create a mailbox. So definitely two processes only communicate on the basis of mailbox. So mailbox is the common area that is required for both processes, and first you will create the mailbox. Now second point is send and receive messages through the mailbox. So if you want to communicate to another process, so you can share the message, send the message in the mailbox, and another process also receive the message from the mailbox if that process have the mailbox ID number. So in next point is the destroy a mailbox. So any process can destroy the mailbox if they have the permission to retrieve the message from the mailbox and send the message to the mailbox. So both processes have the power to delete the mailbox. And now next point is the primitives are defined as send a message to the mailbox. So if process A want to send the message to another process, so process P send a message to the mailbox and process Q receive a message from the mailbox. So these type of operation will perform in direct communication. We are going to explain here. So because with the help of the mailbox is the common area through which we can communicate. So in direct communication, now we are going to discuss about the mailbox sharing. Let's process P1, P2 and P3 share mailbox A, and in second point P1 sends, P2 and P3 receive. Who gets the message? So this is the question, and this is a very important question here. Let's say process P1, P2, P3 shared mailbox A. It means that process P1, P2, P3 they can use the mailbox at the same time or another time. P1 sends message, P2 and P3 receive message. So because P1, P2, P3 are using the mailbox, who will get the message? So definitely if P1 send the message, P2 and P3 will receive the message because they are using the common mailbox. So that's why this is the advantage here. So let's say P1 is sending message and more than one processes are associated with that mailbox. So that message can be received by the many processes which are joined with that mailbox or associated with the mailbox, and this is the advantage. In direct communication, only one process is send message and another process receive message. No more than one process can receive the same message, but this is the advantage in the indirect communication. What about the solution here? Allow a link to be associated with the at most two processes. We are going to maintain at least link between the two processes. Allow only one process at a time to execute a receive operation. So if one process are going to receive message, another process will wait. Next point is the allow the system to select arbitrarily the receiver. Sender is notify who the receiver was. So here is the difference between the process P1, P2 and P3. Let's say process P1 had sent the message and process P2 and P3 want to receive the message, but the same time process P2 and P3 will not receive the message because it will show the synchronization problem. So at the same time, one process, either process P2 or process P3 will receive the message, that message shared by the P1. So this is the advantage in the indirect communication. So by you are going to avoid the synchronization problem. So that's why at a time only one process will receive the message, but you can share that mailbox to many processes and they can use the resources. What about the synchronization? Synchronization is very important topic in the second unit. Synchronization, how two processes are synchronized to communication for shared resource or shared memory. So message passing may be either blocking or non-blocking. So message passing may be blocking or non-blocking. What about the blocking? Blocking is the considered synchronization. Blocking, you sender is blocked until the message is received. So blocking means if process P has sent the message, so that time sender is blocked until the message is received by the receiver. This is the blocking. Blocking receive, the receiver is blocked until a message is available. So both in blocking case, blocking sends and blocking receive, in both situation, at that time sender and receiver both will be blocked so that no other process can use that mailbox or common area that can be used by the processes. So this is the blocking concept in synchronization. Now what about the non-blocking concept? So non-blocking is also known as the asynchronous. In non-blocking, the sender sends the message and continue. So in non-blocking, sender continuously send the message, and non-blocking the receiver receive the message. So this is the advantage on non-blocking and blocking. So non-blocking means sender continuously send the message and receiver continuously receive the message. A valid message or null message, it means that in non-blocking there are two different types of messages are given, a valid message or null message. So if valid messages are continuously sent by the sender and receiver is continuously is going to receive the message in the non-blocking environment or asynchronous environment. The difference between combination possible, if both send and receive are blocked, blocking, we have a renderers. So this is the combination. Is this combination is possible in the synchronization? If both send and receive are blocking, we have the renderers. So definitely renderers may be occur if sender and receiver both are blocked at the same time, or you can say when sender is sending the message and receiver is receiving the message, so maybe it will be occur. So now I am going to discuss about the synchronization problem by using the producer-consumer concept or producer-consumer problem. So in producer-consumer problem, producer and consumer both are using the common area or common buffer, or you can say where at a time if producer is producing the item and consumer will stop to consuming the item. If consumer start consuming the item, then after producer will stop to producing the item. So message can be sent in the buffer, and at the same time only one process, either producer or consumer, can produce and consume the item from the buffer. So message next produce while true, produce an item in the next produce. It means that if you are going to produce the next item, so first you will check the size of the buffer. If the buffer size is available, then producer will produce the next item. So send next produce, it means that you will compare the counter value, or counter means if you are producing the item 1, then counter will increase the value 1, produce the next item, counter will be 2, produce the next value, counter will be 3. So the size of the buffer and the counter, if the size of the buffer and the counter will be same, it means that now if producer want to produce the next item, then then he will not produce the item because the size of the buffer is now going to full. So message next consume while true, receive next consume. So consume the item in the next consume. So here is, this is the concept is very clear that if producer and consumer, they are synchronized in their work or in their action. So at a time, producer and consumer can produce the item and consumer can consume the item, but same time both cannot do the operation from the mailbox or shared memory. What about the buffering? So this is a very important topic in the operating system. So queue of messages attached to the link. So if you're going to send the message, so how many messages are in the ready queue or in the queue, and how they are going to link one by one for receiver end. So implementation in one of the three ways. So there are three different types of buffering is there. In first buffering, that is called the zero capacity. In zero capacity, no messages are queued on a link. So there is no message queue on the link. It means that there is only one message at a time and it will receive from the receiver, but there is no another message will be available in the queue. Now move for the next one, that is the bounded capacity. So bounded capacity means finite length of the message you can send in the queue, so that it will receive from the receiver one by one, but the capacity of the messages are fixed, which are available in the queue. Now we are going to discuss about the next very important, that is unbounded capacity. In unbounded capacity means infinite length sender never wait. So in unbounded capacity means sender continuously send the infinite message and that message will be available in the queue, and one by one that message will be received from the receiver end. So this is the very important in the operating system. So zero capacity, bounded capacity and unbounded capacity, it depends upon the message size and how many messages you are going to send in the buffer. In the first case, you can send only one message. In second case, you can send message in finite manner. In third case, you can send message in infinite manner. So you can send many messages at the same time, and this type of features will be available in the unbounded capacity. So some examples of the IPC, or you can say in the Windows operating system. So in message passing centric by advanced local procedure called, that is LPC, only works between process on the same system, uses port like to establish maintain communication channel. So in IPC, you know very well ki first you will establish the connection between two processes, either direct communication or either in indirect communication mode. So communication works as follows. The client opens a handle to the subsystems connection port objects. The client sends a connection request. The server requests to private communication port and return the handle to one of them to client. The client and server use the corresponding port handle to send message or call backs and to listen for the reply. So in simple, you can explain here, if process P, you can say that if you're taking the example of the client server model, so if client want to communicate to the server, so client can only communicate with the server if server will give the permission to the client. So first you will take the permission from the server side. If server is permitting to you, then you can send the message and you can receive the message. Otherwise you will wait for the request, that request which are in the queue. If the client is sending the message, a receiver is not responding to you, so definitely there is no connection between the client server model or client server architecture. So here is the local procedure call in the Windows operating system. So let's say client and server want to communicate. So client is sending request to the server and that request will be granted by the server. Then after, client and server will communicate to each other. So you can see here in the diagram, connection requests are sent by the client side. Connection port number is here, that can be handled by the server. So server will give the permission, then after you can communicate. So in the second case, handle client communication port, it means that client communication port and server communication port handle. If both client server communication model, or you can say in client communication port and server communication port, both port are communicate to each other by bidirectional mode. If client is getting requests from the server side, then after both are interlinked to each other, and now client and server share their variables, share their resources, share their messages through which they can communicate. So communication in the client server systems in the different forms. So client server model is very important in the operating system as well as in Java programming. So in socket programming concept is also use the client server architecture. Remote procedure calls is also use the client server model. Pipes, remote method, invocation in Java, this is also use the client server architecture or client server model. So these are the way through which client and server can communicate. So in the socket programming, what is the socket? Basically, a socket is defined as an endpoint of communication. So socket means socket concept basically used in the Java programming. So if programmer want to communicate to another programmer, so they will use a socket programming concept. And if one machine want to communicate to another machine, they also use the socket programming concept in the Java language. A socket is defined as the endpoint of communication. To this show the end-to-end communication. So if one want to communicate to another, so they can use the socket programming concept. In socket programming, you can explain with the help of the example here. So like IP address and port number, these two are very important in socket programming. A number included at start of the message packet to differentiate network services on the host. Like the socket have the address that is 161.25.19.8 and colon 1625. 1625 that show the port number that particular host, and on host this is the first host. Now first host want to communicate to another host, and another host is also have the number that is socket number, or you can say 161.25.90.8. So in socket programming, if one process want to communicate to another process, so definitely they will have the port number. That port number will be common for both processes, and they will use the socket programming concept. They can communicate to each other. So communication consists between a pair of the sockets. So one socket communicate to another socket, definitely they will use the socket programming concept like port number. So here is the example. You can explain with the help of this diagram socket programming concept. So host X and server web server. So host X has the number address that is 146.86.5.20, and similarly web server is also have the address like 161.25.19.8. and now host X want to communicate to the web server. So definitely host X will communicate to the web server on the basis of the socket programming concept, like they are sending the message, and that message will be received by the web server, and web server will give the response to that host, and they will use the common socket through which they can communicate. This is the example of the socket programming, the Java language. Like three types of sockets are available here. So connection oriented, like TCP, that is connection oriented services, connectionless services, and like in the UDP, and last one is the multi-cast socket class. Data can be sent to the multiple recipient. So this is the example in the socket programming in the Java language. So you can use these three important concepts in Java language, then you can communicate with the help of the three socket programming. So what about the remote procedure call? So this is another very important topic in the operating system. So remote procedure call, that so the RPC, abstract procedure calls between processes on network system. So in network system environment, if one process want to communicate to another process, can communicate with the help of the RPC, that is remote procedure call. So if remote procedure call will establish only on the basis of steps and the steps and client side sub steps. So what about the steps? So client side proxy for the actual procedure on the server. The client side step located the server and the marshalls the parameters. So these are the very important points in the remote procedure call through which we can establish the communication. Remote procedure call is continued here. So remote procedure call, you know very well, this is another way of communication through which we can communicate to another system with the help of the example. Thank you.